Hey friends! Today's reading lesson, we're going to be talking about comparing and contrasting. Yesterday we talked about retelling. That's when you think of every single detail from the beginning, middle, and end of the story. You're going to use those same retelling skills because you're going to think about the details from the story and you're going to compare and contrast different things. We're going to talk about comparing and contrasting characters. Well, you might be thinking, what does that even mean? So when we compare and contrast, we're thinking about what is the same and what's different. So we compare things that are the same and we contrast things that are different. And we're talking about characters. Characters are the people or the animals or the things in the story or that the story is about. So we have another book by the same author as our book yesterday, Kevin Henkes, except this book is called Wimberley Worried. So we're going to listen to Wimberley Worried, and when we're done, I want you to think about the ways that Wimberly, this character, and our character from yesterday, Chrysanthemum, think about how they're the same and how they're different. So this is called Wimberley Worried. Wimberley worried about everything. Big things, little things, and things in between. Wimberley worried in the morning, she worried at night, and she worried throughout the day. "You worry too much," said her mother. "When you worry, I worry," said her father. "Worry, worry, worry," said her grandmother. "Too much worry." At home, Wimberley worried about the tree in the front yard, and the crack in the living room wall, and the noise the radiators made. At the playground, Wimberley worried about the chains on the swings, and the bolts on the slide, and the bars on the jungle gym. And always she worried about her doll Petal. "Don't worry," said her mother. "Don't worry," said her father. But Wimberley worried. She worried and worried and worried. When Wimberley was especially worried, she rubbed Petal's ears. Wimberley worried that if she didn't stop worrying, Petal would have no ears left at all. On her birthday, Wimberley worried that no one would come to her party. "See," said her mother, "there was nothing to worry about." But then Wimberley worried that there wouldn't be enough cake. On Halloween, Wimberley worried that there would be too many butterflies in the neighborhood parade. "See," said her father, "there was nothing to worry about." But then Wimberley worried because she was the only one. "You worry too much," said her mother. "When you worry, I worry," said her father. "Worry, worry, worry," said her grandmother. "Too much worry." Soon Wimberley had a new worry, school. Wimberley worried about the start of school more than anything she had ever worried about before. By the time the first day arrived, Wimberley had a long list of worries. What if no one else has spots? What if no one else wears stripes? What if no one else brings a doll? What if the teacher is mean? What if the room smells bad? What if they make fun of my name? What if I can't find the bathroom? What if I hate the snack? What if I have to cry? Poor Wimberley. "Don't worry," said her mother. "Don't worry," said her father. But Wimberley worried. She worried and worried and worried. She worried all the way there. While Wimberley's parents talked to the teacher, Mrs. Peachum, Wimberley looked around the room. Then Mrs. Peachum said, "Wimberley, there is someone I think you should meet." Her name was Jewel. She was standing by herself. She was wearing stripes. She was holding a doll. At first, Wimberley and Jewel just peeked at each other. "This is Petal," said Wimberley. "This is Niblet," said Jewel. Petal waved. Niblet waved. "Hi," said Petal. "Hi," said Niblet. "I rub her ears," said Wimberley. "I rub her nose," said Jewel. Throughout the morning, Wimberly and Jewel sat side by side and played together whenever they could. Petal and Niblet sat side by side too. Wimberly worried, but no more than usual, and sometimes even less. Before Wimberly knew it, it was time to go home. "Come back tomorrow," called Mrs. Peachum as the students walked out the door. Wimberly turned and smiled and waved. "I will," she said. "Don't worry." The end. Okay, so now that we've read 2 books by Kevin Henkes, we're going to work on the skill of compare and contrast. So first we're going to learn what those words mean. When you think compare, I want you to think same. Compare means same. So you're thinking, how are these 2 things the same? So you're taking 2 things. We're going to be taking 2 characters. A character from 2 different stories, this one and this one. You might compare characters that are in the same story. You might compare settings. You could compare all kinds of things. When I was buying a house, I compared and contrasted all kinds of houses. I was like, how are they different? How are they the same? How am I going to figure out which one I want to buy? So you compare and contrast probably more than you think you do, but we can also do it with books. So compare, think, how are they the same? Contrast, how are they different? So we can compare, same, contrast, different. Do those symbols if it helps you remember. Compare, how are they the same? Because they're together, they're the same. Contrast, how are they different? They're on opposite sides, different. And so we use this, these 2 overlapping circles called a Venn diagram. We can use that to compare and contrast. So on the outside circles is where you write and draw the things that are different. So in this case, if I was making a Venn diagram to compare and contrast our 2 characters, I would write Chrysanthemum's name up here, and I would write Wimberly's name over here. And so this part of the circle would be for things that are about Chrysanthemum that are different, and then things about Wimberly, and Wimberly's things that are different will go over here. And then the way that they're the same will go in the middle. So let's think about that. So this was our character Chrysanthemum. If you remember, we retold this story, so you should have lots of details about this story. She loved her name. She went to school, people made fun of her, then she didn't like it. And she met her new teacher, Mrs. Twinkle, and she loved it. So that's just an overview. And then we just read Wimberley Worried. Remember, Wimberly worried about everything all the time, and her mom and dad were always like, "You worry too much." She was really worried about school, but then she met her friend Jewel that was a lot like her in the story. So think about these 2 characters. Pause the video if you need to. Take some time. How are they different? How are they different? So if you pause the video to wonder how they're different, let's think about some things. I will put, I don't know if you can see. Yeah. There we go. So how are they different? Well, first of all, I can notice how they look. They're different in how they look. Chrysanthemum's mainly just a white mouse. Wimberly has a gray ear and some gray spots. So just white, some gray spots. Chrysanthemum loved her name. That was the thing that she had going for her. She loved her name. Wimberly over here loved her doll Petal. Chrysanthemum didn't have a doll, but Wimberly did have a doll. So those are just 2 ways they're different. You can think of many other ways to contrast these 2 characters. And then how are they the same? Well, they're both mice. They're both the same kind of character. They're both the same animal. They're both girls. They both have a problem in the story. They both go to school. Lots of things that are the same, so you can think of other ways to compare. So what I want you to do is any book that you read today, or all the books that you read today, practice comparing and contrasting characters. Remember, you can read a couple of books and compare and contrast characters from different stories, or you could just compare and contrast the characters that you have in your same story. So practice with comparing and contrasting.